Hey everyone, picture this. You're a bank manager and a high-ranking finance officer from a well-respected company walks into your office. He's well-dressed, confident, and tells you that his company is looking for a banking partner. Everything checks out. Company documents, board resolutions, even signatures from senior management. What would you do? Would you lend the company millions of dollars? Well, two banks did exactly that and got scammed of over $100 million. Today, we are discussing the case of Skandinaviska and Asia Pacific Breweries, which I shall abbreviate as APB, a case that raised crucial legal questions about vicarious liability and the close connection test. We'll break down what happened, the legal arguments made by each party, and what this means for businesses, banks, and even ordinary people like you and me. Our story revolves around Pte Ltd, the finance manager of Asia Pacific Breweries. Yes, the company behind Tiger Beer. Over a period of 4 years, Chia masterminded an elaborate fraud, conning multiple banks, including Skandinaviska and Breweries, into granting him massive credit facilities. So how did he pull it off? Chia was smart. He knew that banks, especially those eager to secure corporate clients, often operated on trust. He exploited this by forging board resolutions and company documents to make it seem like Asia Pacific Breweries had authorized him to obtain loans. The banks, seeing the credibility of Asia Pacific Breweries as a blue chip company, were eager to extend credit. Little did they know, Chia was funneling the funds into his personal accounts and using them to finance a severe gambling addiction. Eventually, the fraud was exposed. Chia was convicted and sentenced to 42 years in prison, the harshest sentence ever given for commercial fraud in Singapore at the time. But even after Chia was put behind bars, the banks were left scrambling to recover their losses. They sued Asia Pacific Breweries, arguing that the company should be held vicariously liable for Chia's actions. The big question was whether Asia Pacific Breweries should be held liable for its employees' fraud. The banks argued that since Chia was acting in his capacity as finance manager, Asia Pacific Breweries should be responsible for the damages. This boiled down to a legal principle known as vicarious liability. In simple terms, vicarious liability means that an employer can be held responsible for the wrongful acts of an employee, even if the employer was not directly involved. But here's the catch. This only applies if there is a close connection between the wrongful act and the employee's job duties. This is known as the close connection test. So, did Chia's fraud have a close enough connection to his job as finance manager? That was the key issue before the court. Let's hear both sides. The banks made the following arguments. Number one, Chia was in a position of trust as finance manager. His job involved financial matters, so it was reasonable for the banks to believe he had the authority to secure credit facilities for Asia Pacific Breweries. Number two, the forged board resolutions looked legitimate, and it was not the bank's job to suspect forgery when dealing with a reputable company like Asia Pacific Breweries. Third argument by the banks. Since Asia Pacific Breweries benefited indirectly from Chia's fraud, some of the money moved through its accounts, it should bear responsibility. On the other hand, Asia Pacific Breweries argued that Chia was never authorized to obtain loans on behalf of APB. He acted purely for his own gain. APB also argued that his fraudulent acts were entirely separate from his job. His actual duties involved financial reporting and cash management, not securing credit. Finally, APB argued that the banks should have exercised due diligence. They failed to verify his authority, ignored red flags, and were ultimately responsible for their own losses. At the heart of this debate was the close connection test. Was Chia's fraud closely connected to his job? The answer would determine whether Asia Pacific Breweries was on the hook for millions. After analyzing all the evidence, the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Asia Pacific Breweries. Here's why. First, Chia's fraud was not closely connected to his employment. While he was a finance manager, His actual role did not include securing loans. Secondly, Asia Pacific Breweries had no reason to suspect that Chia would engage in fraud. They could not be expected to foresee his criminal actions. Third reason, the banks had the means to protect themselves. They could have verified Chia's authority, but they didn't. The court emphasized that financial institutions must exercise proper due diligence before extending credit. As a result, Asia Pacific Breweries was not vicariously liable. The banks had to bear the losses themselves. This case teaches us a valuable lesson, not just in law, but in life. Employers are not automatically liable for their employees' wrongdoing. There must be a close connection, a real link between the wrongful act and the employee's job. But there's also a deeper takeaway here. In life, we often trust appearances, taking things at face value. But what we perceive is not always reality. Just as the banks trusted Chia without deeper inquiry, we too can be misled by illusions, whether in people, situations, or even our own fears and desires. True wisdom lies in seeing things as they are, not just as they appear to be. Like a still pond that reflects the sky but hides its depths, truth requires clarity, patience, and discernment. The greatest lesson from this case may not just be about liability, but about the need to question, to verify, and see through deception. Thanks for joining me in this case summary. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.